Hello and welcome to Learning Business Central with Infusion Team. And my name is Corrie Olson. I'm CEO and owner of Infusion Solutions. And our goal today is to help our existing customers learn more about Business Central. If you don't know us that well, Infusion Solutions, we've been in the Microsoft channel for over 20 years. We're located in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we really specialize in creative solutions and integrations with the whole Microsoft stacks. We have customers in a variety of industries across the U.S. We really specialize in distribution, not-for-profits, higher education, healthcare, and we have a tailored solution for wine and spirits wholesalers. We offer consulting services on business processes, integration services, Power Platform, development of GP and GP support, as well as now Business Central. Business Central is new to us, and we're really excited to introduce it to all of our customers. A little bit about me. Again, my name is Corrie Olson. I'm the CEO and owner of Infusion. I've been with the company for 20 years. We are just slightly over 20 years old as an organization. And I've been in the Microsoft channel as a user and then as a consultant for over 25 years. I have 2 kids, and my husband Toby works with us in Infusion as well. And the interesting fact about me is I went skydiving for over 4 times. You can say I'm a little bit of a thrill seeker. The last time was really special because we did a tandem with both of my kids. So really fun. But not nearly as fun as what I'm going to show you today, which is really a guide through the basic navigation and use of Business Central. A lot of the concepts I'm going to show you today are the same regardless of the module that you're in. The navigation, the general integration to Excel is very much a different look and feel than GP, but I think you're really going to like it. So I'm excited. Let's get started into a demo of Business Central. So our demo today is going to go over some basic navigation of Business Central. This navigation really applies no matter what module I'm in. There's a lot of commonality between the different modules, whether you're in vendors or customers or items. We're going to be using today our Kronos test environment, which is a test company that you get with Business Central. I'm on my home page right now, and I just want to go over a few parts of the home page. The first is at the top here, we have what's called the navigation menu. The navigation menu comes with your role. Your role can be assigned to you from your system admin. They can also allow you to choose different roles within a certain list. There are many more roles in the system, but it just depends what your admin sets up for you to be able to switch between. These roles determine what is listed up here in your navigation menu. The navigation menu is just a way to navigate to different pages within the system. Underneath, we have what's called a navigation bar. This is where I've added shortcuts myself, and you as a user can do that. And I'll show you when we go to a window about bookmarking, which then puts it onto this bar. In this area is what's called a headline area. It's where your system can send out top information, notices that maybe you want to share across your company. Maybe it's top sales, the best invoice, how many deals you closed, etc. Over here to the right is what we call an action bar. This is where, again, I have certain shortcuts to different journals or actions to do in the system that I can then click to get to. This next area is called our activities area. This is very similar to the reminders section within GP. In the activities area, I get to see cues either listed as tiles or numbers into important things, again, that is specific to my role. The next area is called Insights. This is where I can see key performance indicators or my top 10 accounts, which you can then edit into this list and manage your accounts or vendors. So again, just to be quick to try to get to information without having to click on a lot of links. You can see I have some KPI dashboard embedded things that I can choose from here, and can see, again, based on my role, what are things that I would want to do. I also want to point out that you can also add your own Power BI reports and embed them into this dashboard. So you really can customize this to be helpful to your area. I'm also going to show you Personalize here in a minute, which gives us another customization tool. Before I do that, as we looked at the parts of the homepage, I'm going to move up here to the top bar. Over here to the right, I have a company badge, which tells me what company I'm in. This is really helpful because you can set different colors, squares, or tiles to indicate visually what company you're in. What's nice about that is in Business Central, you can have multiple logins open to different companies. It's still only using your one user license. And doing that on the upper right-hand side will be this company badge. That company badge is a great visual to know which company I'm looking at if I have multiple customers open from different companies, etc. This next area is the search. So this is a great way to navigate into the system as well. You can get there through, again, the navigation menu or bar or actions or shortcuts I've done, but this is a great way as well. I can search and say customers as an example, and then this will search in the system. It breaks it out into a few different sections. The first section is it's looking on my current page for anything that matches what I typed in. The second is pages and tasks that match that. And notice here, it's only showing me the top 3, but I can choose to select all 16, which would show me anything, again, related to what I typed in. The next is reports and analysis. So if I'm looking for a report, I would want to go into this area. This searches on our help desk for search documentation. The last is an app source, and this is a Microsoft store where maybe there's add-ins or apps that match to what I was talking about. You want to make sure, one, you can control that with security of who can download apps and add them to your system. Some are free and some are paid, but you always want to make sure to check with your system administrator to make sure that you're not adding an app that could conflict poorly into your system with your other programs. So really great way. Again, I'll just click on this customer list. Up here on the right, this is the bookmark that I talked about. This bookmark indicates that I have this already marked. And if we go back by hitting the back arrow, you can see that I had that on my navigation bar here. The next area, this is notifications for maintenance updates or other things that might notify you. The settings, there's lots of information in this menu. I'm going to highlight a few. The first is called My Settings. In My Settings, this shows you the role that you are assigned to, which again, does all of those defaults on your home screen. I can choose to change that role to other roles that my administrator has let me have the option to switch between. Again, there are many more canned roles, and you can also make up custom roles in the system. The work date is going to default to today. However, this is a great area, similar to in GP, the user date, where you can change that date for an end of month, etc. So you don't have to remember to type over that date, because a lot of things in Business Central, just like in GP, default to this work date. This will help me know the region, the time zone that I'm working on. These teaching tips will come up as we move to different areas in the system. The teaching tips are really helpful as you start to learn Business Central. After you've learned Business Central, they might become more annoying than helpful, so you can always turn those off. We'll come back in another session and talk about notifications. This help menu is just a way to get to help as well from that search as well. I'm going to go back to the settings. There's a couple other things that I want to point out. And I'm going to do this view all in your Microsoft 365 menu. From this menu, you can see there's an option for themes. Themes will change the top bar here. You can see I chose this little sparkly, I guess it's called Far, Far Away theme. Now, this not only changes it for my Business Central, but also changes it for anything in my Microsoft 365, mostly SharePoint, your OneDrive, etc. It doesn't really affect your Office products. So it's a nice way for this to customize your user and to make it feel a little more like you. You can get to your other Microsoft apps by clicking this button here, and you can move between your Microsoft other documents as well as recent documents that you've had. And again, by clicking there. Now, it is good to note that I opened this today in my app, so you can download a Business Central app. You can also open Business Central within a browser tab as well. We highly recommend that you use Edge. Now, you can personalize each page within Business Central, and this is a really powerful tool. You can personalize it for your user, and I'm going to show you examples of that on each type of page. But that exists here on my home page as well. So I'm going to go to my little gear button, the settings, and go to personalize. From here, it'll come up with a recording section, and you can see that cost accounting is grayed out. That's because I have already personalized to hide that field. I can hit this little red arrow, and then I can choose to show it. You can also choose to move it around into different orders, hide or show. There are some limitations within the section that you're doing. It has to be fields available. You can see as I hover, the red box changes. So if I go over here, then I can choose, do I have any additional fields that are available for me to add? Or again, I can use this red arrow and choose to remove, hide, or move depending on the section that I'm in. So we're going to do a lot more with this in different pages, but that personalization is a wonderful tool that really helps you tailor the product for your own user. So I'm going to just hit done. Now there are 4 types of pages within Business Central that we're going to look at: list, documents, journals, and cards. We're first going to start with list. Almost everything in Business Central starts at a list. So if I was to go to vendors as an example, again, I can use my navigation menu, or I have this bookmarked on my navigation bar, or I could search vendors and then go to that list page. All of those are great ways to navigate to where I'm going. Within the system, every list gives you an option to look at it as a list, as tiles, or as small tiles. Now, Microsoft, most of their demos are going to show you in tiles. I don't think that's necessarily realistic for most of our companies to gather pictures from their vendors, but let us know if you want us to send you a silly picture of our Infusion team. We'd be glad to do it. We're going to stay on list because there's a lot of great things that you can do that I think make much more sense as we're looking at the list view. In here, we can search on this page and it will find anything that contains. So as an example, if I said supplier, it's going to pull up this vendor that has supplier in their name. And then I can hit the X and clear that. There's also a fact box that you might have already had open automatically, and it's with this little circle with the eye. If you hit that box, you can click on any vendor, and you will get a lot of great information related into this fact box without me even drilling into the vendor. I can see my balance. I can see what's outstanding. I can also see what's going on in the system and click into any of these tiles. Anything that is blue, I can then drill in for more information. as an example, if I wanted to see all of the invoices that made up this balance, I'm going to click in here, and it's going to take me to another list that's called our vendor ledger entries. All transactions really end in ledger entries. So whatever the area is that you're going into, you're going to end up in a ledger entry. In this case, I have 2 invoices here. Notice this visual indicator of the red, which is telling me that this is past due. So this is a great way just to kind of visually see what's going on in the system. I'm using my back arrow to get back to where I was. Business Central natively just stacks pages on top of other pages. So as I go to one, it stacks it on top. You can pop those out to separate windows and open that so you can see stuff side by side. As an example, I'm going to open this page in a new window, and you can see that it's now opening, and I can then move this to a different page and pull this to a different screen. I'm just going to close this for now. So drill in is really great from here. The other things on this fact box that I can do is I can add attachments. I can see links and or diary notes that I've listed here. And when you add a note, it will show your username and date that that note was added. So a lot of great information just from this list without even really clicking into the vendor. If I drill into the vendor, that fact box still shows, and I'll show you that here in a minute. I'm going to close this fact box just so I can have more real estate as I'm showing you information on this list. Another great thing that you can do, again, on any list is use your filter button. So I'm going to go ahead and click this filter. From here, I can say I want to filter this list by the balance for anything that is not equal to 0. When I do that, the list filters down. You can see I had a couple drop off the list. I can then save this as a report, so I don't have to type that in each time. Then I can come in here and just immediately go to the open balance is what I called it, and then it will show that here is my list and filtered like it is. So very similar to how you would do favorites in Smart List in GP. Now, some other great things I can do is I can personalize this. So again, I'm going to go to my gear button. I'm going to go to personalize. And then from here, I can add, move columns. I can also change what is frozen so that when I scroll to the right, I don't get all my information lost. So as an example, I can move this a little here. You can see my columns. Maybe I don't want location code, so I can remove that. Let's say I want to set my freeze by the name, so I can set freeze pane so that it moves not just to the number, but also from the number and name. So those are great things. And again, I can also add fields into here as well. If you don't like what you've done, you can clear the personalization, which will get rid of everything that you have done. Now, I can also do this. I'm on a filtered report to that open balance. I'm going to go to my all, which is where you need to be in order to add those fields. So I'm going to add a field. And let's just go down, and I'm going to add my, and you can type up here as well to search. I'm just going to add a vendor, a general posting group. Here we go. And again, the red line, if you can see that, is going to say where I land that here. Once I'm done, I can just hit done on there. So really easy to add columns, move columns around all through your personalize. That's how you're going to do that on any list within Business Central. Now, let's talk about other things I can do. The next thing that you typically would want to do with a list, possibly after I filter it, is you might want to take it to Excel. So from here, I can do my open in Excel. Open in Excel will just open it to the exact columns that I have showing in my list, which is really helpful. So you can see here's my columns. Now it's in Excel, and then you can do whatever you want with this in Excel. Another thing I can do, though, that's even more powerful, taking it one step further, is to edit in Excel. The Edit in Excel feature in Business Central is a really exciting feature. It allows you to look at all of the information and then publish it back into Business Central. So I'm not only just looking at the vendor data, I get to impact the vendor data and then update that into the system. Now, there's a few caveats to that. The first thing is, notice all of these columns. It's not just the columns in my list. It's actually all of the vendor information columns, which is fantastic, but it also means that's a lot of information. You cannot remove these columns or change them in any order. They have to stay this way in order for it to communicate back to Business Central. The second thing is that I can, if it's a list that is going to be validated, as an example, if I was changing payment terms, and let me just scroll over. Here we go. To payment terms. I could not change it to a payment term that is not already a valid term in the system. So when I go down here to payment terms, I have to change it to one of these valid payment terms, or else it's going to reject. So it does not add new terms into the system. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and change this customer to COD. I'm going to go over as the second one from the bottom, my worldwide importers. Once I've made that change, and again, you could do a wide variety of changes in here. You can actually also add new, by the way. I'm just going to hit this publish button. This is the data connection between my Business Central and Excel. And I'm just going to hit publish. It's going to tell me it's updating, and now it was successful. If I go back to my list, and you can see worldwide has CM right now, I'm going to hit F5, which is a way to refresh your current page. In doing that, notice right now then my terms change to COD. Isn't that exciting? You can do this in almost any list within Business Central. A great way to move data back and forth between Excel. Now, another really exciting way that we have in the system to share information is to, on my little share button here, is to copy this link. So if I'm in a saved report, unlike SmartList in GP, this does not save for everybody. This is only saving for my user. But I can copy this link and send this to a coworker. They can then open it and then just save it as the name they would like it, but it'll fill in all the filters here. The only filters we have found that it does not pass through is usually date-related filters, which we'll talk about in another part of this demo. Now, a new feature that Business Central added earlier in 2023 is the Analyze feature. The first thing I showed you was about opening in Excel. A lot of people, the reason they open these lists or other things in Excel is because they want to add a subtotal or a summary or a pivot table. You no longer need to go outside in Excel to do that. Microsoft has actually added that inside the system. So I'm going to choose my Analyze button here, and it's going to pull up a pivot table. If I hit the little buttons to the side here, you can see I have it in pivot mode. Now, I've already saved a pivot table out here that's called Vendor Open, and it's giving me a total of my open documents and how much by each vendor. Again, I can continue to build into that by adding more information, etc. But this is a very powerful tool in order to be able to create things that you normally would go outside of the system to Excel. If you want to get back to your normal list, you just switch the toggle back, and now I'm at my list. You can have as many of those little tabs, saved reports, and those are really easy to do. Now, up here at this action bar here, we have a lot of information that we can get about the vendor. We can drill into whatever I'm clicked on is what it's filtering to. So I can go ahead and run reports about 1099. I can go ahead and create new documents. Again, this is kind of your home page to start wherever you want to go from. And I just hit this pin so I could see as I move this, these few menus. The rest of these are going to show as drop downs. And when I do that, you can see here I have actions to do even more related information actions to a vendor. These same kind of options are available if I drill into the vendor card as well, which is our next stop. So we've talked about lists. The other kind of page I want to talk about is cards. So I'm going to drill into this vendor, Fabricam. Within a card, there's several different sections that are called fast tabs. These sections of the cards allow you to expand and show more information. Now, I can start a new vendor from here. I could have just went to new. I can also, up here at the top, if this isn't the vendor I wanted, I can start a new entry from here as well. There are many ways to start new cards. You can apply templates. So just like GP's classes, there are templates which allow you to save data entry by filling in certain information. So if I go in here to actions and functions and templates, you can see the kind of information that is stored at a template in order for us, again, just to save data entry time. So I can choose a template. It will default the information in for me. You can also copy. So from items, as an example, you can copy in template item to create another item. So all of that is possible in the system to make data entry as easy as possible. When I open this card, it opened in edit format, which is this pencil with the circle. You might not have security to edit a window when you open here. It will come without that circle around the pencil. And you can see my fields don't have the boxes around them. When I click on this, if I have security, then I can edit this window. And I also have a trash button here. Another really neat feature is my share here, just like we looked at before. But notice here, I just have a copy link. I can send somebody this link. If they have a Business Central license, they can open it. I can also share this in Teams. There's a lot of information that people can see in Teams, even if they don't have a Business Central license, and vice versa, that can see stuff in Teams if you have a Business Central license, but you don't have a Teams license. Microsoft is really trying to do a collaborative share, and they're really helping you see some information. Now, obviously, you can't edit and drill into this card if I don't have a Business Central, but I can see a lot of information related about this even without a Business Central. So if I click on here, it's going to come up with my Teams, and then I can type in who I want to share that with as well. And again, you just type in your Teams teammate, and then that will share that with them. So a lot of great ways to have that. As a reminder, I can pop this out to a new window, and then I can look up another vendor or go into another company. Notice here my company badge is here to the right, like I mentioned before. So I can see that this is a different company. I can go back over here, change to a different company, pull up that vendor. I can have these on separate windows. You can't see both of my screens, but I can drag that It is now independent. So it's really nice. You can have these on multiple screens in multiple companies all at the same time, and you're not eating up any more than your one user license. So lots of great flexibility in that. Now, in my fast tab sections here, I can show less, which is just shrinking it up for real estate, or show more. I can also collapse it. Now, in our personalization, you get options for all of these things. So within this section, again, going back to my red arrow, I can choose to hide fields. So let's say I don't want this IC partner code. I can remove it, and it will remove it off of my window. Now, don't worry, those fields are still there. I can hit my plus fields button, and you can see that my IC partner is here. I can drill this, put this back onto that section. Another option that you have is to say what is going to show when you do your show more or show less. So in this example, I want to show this balance due when it's collapsed. So I'm going to go ahead and show that. Another thing I might want to change is what shows in the show more or show less. So in here, I can say, I want this to show under more. Now, I can also, let's move to a field that's probably not already showing. And you can see this one says show always because I already had this one set up as show always. So show always means whether it's more or less, it's going to show. Otherwise, if it's already set to show always or to show, then you can say, I only want it to do it when I do show more. So lots of great ways to do that. This exclude from quick entry will help when you're tabbing through. It'll skip that field. So again, some options as you move through the fields of what it will go to. So you can personalize to say, I don't typically fill out this field. So when I hit my tab or enter down, I want it to be excluded from there. So lots of great information and ways to really help tailor this window to you. Again, this is for your user. You can tailor these windows for a role. You have to have security to be able to do that. And you also can tailor these windows for your whole organization. That requires a use of a designer tool, which really does impact the code of your Business Central. So we suggest only an application specialist or a consultant help you in that task. So I'm going to hit done. Again, you can always clear your personalization as well. If you really mess stuff up, don't worry. It'll allow you to do that in the system too. Let's talk a little bit about contacts. Obviously, a lot of the cards list a primary contact like you would get in any kind of ERP. But contacts are actually taken to another level in Business Central. I have a contact button here. In the contact button, I can list people and their emails that connect then to the Outlook interaction. So I'm going to show you an example of that. And I'm going to bring up my Outlook here in the system. In my Outlook, I have Allison added, who sent me an email. Allison is connected with one of the customers in my test Business Central called Trey Research. Within Outlook, and whether you're using the desktop Outlook or the webmail, it is the same as long as you have Office 365, which now is called M365. I have an Outlook add-in. I'm going to connect to that Outlook add-in, which connects to my Business Central production environment. In here, it's connected Allison to Trey Research because I've set up Allison as a contact. Now, if I had someone who I have not yet set up as a contact, you can use your Outlook add-in to add them as a contact into Business Central. Once that's connected, it will pull up the account. Now, a user can be connected to a vendor and a customer. In this case, I only have Allison as a customer, so it automatically pulled up that account. Great information that I'm seeing just from here. Allison emailed me to ask me what is their outstanding amount, and can I tell her those invoice numbers? So in here, anything that is blue, I can drill into. I do get a lot of great stats. This is just like the info box that we looked at in Business Central, where I can drill down to any of those areas. I can see notes and diaries, etc. So let's say I want to see what her balance is. Here I can see the invoices, and I have a scroll button again to the side that is going to take me to the customer ledger entries window, just like I am in Business Central. I can make this window bigger, and I can pop this out to a separate window. So from here, I can say, oh, great, well, these are the invoices. Now that's wonderful, and I can type or send a screenshot to Allison, but we can even do better than that. I'm going to go back here by using my arrow, and I'm going to go to my Show More Options ellipsis button. From here, I can actually run a statement for Allison, and I can go to my Statements button. I can choose my dates and options on this statement, and I can choose the output, which I could email directly to Allison. It will pop it up and allow me to type in Allison's name if she's not one of the people that are already put on the email list for statements for this customer. Or I could just preview it and look at the PDF as well. All from here without going and popping back and forth, typing in Allison, trying to find the trade research. Very nice and easy. Microsoft has really done a great job in trying to integrate the whole Microsoft stack, which are all those other great Microsoft products. I can do a wide variety of stuff, whether it be, oh, I need to create a payment from here, I need to create a new invoice, all of that information is available. We have other demos where we'll talk about on maybe the AP side, where we actually can take an attachment from an email, use OCR, and create an AP transaction all through our Outlook. So a lot of really great information in our Outlook integration. All right, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this and go back here. Before we move on to some other types of pages, I want to revisit lists in a different way than the lists that I looked at on vendors, customers, or items, and that's the chart of accounts. This is a list as well, but it has flow fields that really, and total and header fields that really change the presentation of this. In GP, if you were in a smart list, which is kind of like the rest of the lists that we're starting at, those smart lists, are just a basic list of what your chart of accounts would be. But really, the chart of accounts list in Business Central is showing you basically a trial balance and a financials by allowing you to have header and total lines. So you can see here, I have my assets, which is under my balance sheet, which is a heading total. I have an asset header that is the begin of my total line. And then I have a total assets, which is the end of my total line, and it sums all of these accounts up. Now, what's great about that is I'm seeing all my chart, and I can drill into the chart of accounts just like you would on any other list that I can see that GL account set up. But I also get this net change and balance column. I can use my filter button here to affect this net change column. So I can use a filter totals by. If I click the filter totals by, I can choose a date filter, and I want to say that I want to see P3. When I tab, you can see it knows period 3 in my accounting is 31 ... which is how you say through 331. So then my total, you can see net change to that amount. So really exciting stuff. Now I can use smart dates as well. The first of the current month ... through the end of the current month. And when I do that, now my date, because I'm in a test company where the work date is 4/1 or 4/10, and the real date right now is 9/22, it's going to look a little funky, but yours would work out just perfect. When I click back in here, you can see, even though it's displaying the date range, it's still saved as a smart date. This is a great thing then for me to save as current month, chart. Again, I could add other things if I just wanted to see profit and loss accounts, etc. I can go ahead and do my filter here and choose those kind of things as well. Super easy. Now, how do you know how to use those smart dates? Well, that's wonderful. We have a cheat sheet for you. And we'll also do another little training class just related onto that. Now, there's a lot of, honestly, this really helps you not have to drill into and run a lot of other reports in the system. This is a lot of really great information. However, there's still a lot more. Again, up here on my navigation, we have great inquiries that are already built in. So I can do my GL account balance. What I really love about this window is this gives me an opportunity to see by day, week, month, quarter, year, or accounting period. I can see debits and credits or just an amount. I can include or exclude closing entries, so those rollovers at the year. I can see net change or balance to date. And then as I do that, I can scroll here in the system and see all of that information. A lot of great inquiries. So one of my favorites that I like is this GL balance by dimension. I can choose to show this as a matrix, so columns and rows. So I can choose what's my lines or rows and what's my columns. So I have my GL account and period. Same options that I showed in the balance by account, by month, by day, by week, etc. Net change or balance. I can choose a time period that I want to show, and I can just hit that show matrix. And then this gives me a great inquiry, just again, pivoting across. All of this is without running a financial or trial balance. We'll do a separate training on financials, which will also go over the trial balance, but I want to use the trial balance as an example of all different kinds of reports in Business Central. Now, one of the things I first love is when you choose one of the canned reports inside of Business Central, you do not have to name your options or name an option. It will remember the last used options and filters that you used on a report. You can save options so that it will default different filters. So if you sometimes run it with this filter and sometimes run it with that filter, you most definitely can save that here as well. There's usually lots of options to say print in detail, usually in a toggle. So options are in a section. The next section is going to be filters, and you can do a lot of really cool things on filters that we didn't have the option to in GP. As an example, I can put 1,100 and then put a pipe and then choose a different range of accounts, or a ... to do through. So there's a lot of options in how to gather account numbers that are a little different than what you could do in GP. Now, I'm going to just leave this as it is, and I'm just going to do preview on this report. And you can see that it's a regular report, a standard trial balance, beginning, ending, debits, credits, etc. Again, I chose not to do detail. I can zoom this in so you can see a little better. All of these have a pan with the hand. So if you don't have a scroll mouse, I'm using my scroll mouse right now, but if you were on a mobile device, again, Microsoft tried to make it really friendly. I can print this, I can download it, all of those great things. But another option you have on all of the reports in Business Central is the Send To button. The Send To button allows me just to go straight to Excel with any reports. Now, I can do a data layout to Excel, which is going to show a header, footer example, what we call kind of a pretty export, or I can do a data only. Let's just look at that data only really quick. Here you can see it's much more workable if I wanted then to take this data and do something in Excel with it. So again, a lot of columns in the data only, but it does give me all the data related to those ledger entries. So really great information, super easy to work with into those reports. All right. And again, our financial demo will go more into that. So we've talked about cards, we've talked about lists. The next real page inside of Business Central we haven't looked at is documents. So documents are a way in the system that gives you to interact with things like sales orders or invoices for customers, AP transactions, purchase orders, purchasing invoices for vendors. All are arranged very similar and all resolve to a general journal in the back end. But the document allows us to interact with it in a different way. So I'm going to go to purchase invoice as an example to look at. Again, I have a bookmark here, so I'm just going to click on it. When I do that, it'll open to a list. Again, this list is all unposted purchase invoices. If I wanted to go to posted documents, I could start in posted purchase invoices, but this is unposted, and I'm going to look at all of these documents. Now, I have one set up already that I want to take a look at. I'm going to go to this 107209, which I saved some information. We have another demo that we're going to do on purchase invoice processes that'll go through some other features that you can do in a purchase invoice. In GP, the AP transaction window only did AP. The purchase invoice in Business Central is a combination of the AP window as well as the purchase invoice window. So, and a lot more functionality, to be honest with you. So we've added in even additional functionality into this window. All of the sections are very similar to like the cards where you have fast tabs. So I have a general, show more, show less kind of process. And down below here, we have a couple more fast tabs. But the difference in a document is usually there's a line section. This line section has a lot of great information to do. So just like on all of the different windows we have looked at, remember we can personalize. So within this personalization, I can, again, add columns, take away columns, fields, hide them, choose what's in the show less, show more, choose what's in the collapse. Here in this section, I can also add columns. You can see there's so many columns. Again, it depends what you're doing, and there's so much functionality in this line section that we're going to talk about. So you can add columns into here. You can remove columns. You can rearrange them, which is really important into this section. Now, this section here, I'm just going to hit done, is kind of similar to your distributions window, unless you're doing items, right? So many of you that do purchase invoice for item reconciliation, this is very common. You have your item here, etc. But if you are not doing inventory items and you're doing a regular AP transaction that has a GL distribution, this is where we do our GL distribution. The type, instead of inventory item, would be GL account. There's other types we can do here as a comment, if we just wanted to write a line of information. Business Central has a great resource job module where I can invoice people, machines, other resources for project management related. So there's a great module related to that. We also can do some really cool things with fixed assets. We can acquire them. We can track maintenance costs. Again, we're going to go over a little bit more of that in our purchase demo. And then I have a charge item, which is an associated charge to an item that can be tracked as well. So for this example, I'm just going to use my GL account. Now, another really cool thing I want to show, and again, this is across the board in Business Central, is you never really need to know the number. I don't need to know the GL number. I don't need to know an item number. All you need to do is type something in the description. So in this case, I'm going to do miscellaneous, and you can see my miscellaneous comes up. Now, if there's only one in this list as I'm typing, I really can just hit tab, and it will automatically associate the right one. If there was more than one, it's going to give me a little red box and make me pick, because it's going to say, hey, you didn't know. And again, I could have just dropped down and picked that as I was moving. Over here on quantity, the other thing that's really neat is that you don't need to do the math ahead of time. In GP, you would have entered the exact quantity and unit amount, but in BC, you can just use your math. So if I did 5 plus 4 plus 2, and then I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go 50 plus 2250, then it will do the math for me inside of the fields. That seems like something little, but I bet there's some of you that are like, yes, finally, which is really exciting. Now, this seems like a lot on a page, and maybe I'm getting a little lost in all the details, especially if I have really long distributions. Every line section on a document has a focus mode. So I'm just going to hit that. And what it does is it just makes this page, everything else disappear except the lines. So again, if I have a lot of lines, it's going to make it a lot easier to go ahead and enter. It's also a lot easier here because I can see the total a lot better as well. Now, there are some really cool ways. I'm just going to take this out of focus mode. There's some really cool ways that we're going to talk about in the purchases demo that allow recurring default GL accounts, just like you had in GP, but a little different, but same kind of functionality related to that. So stay tuned for that demo because it really goes into this purchase invoice much more. Today's goal is just to understand the functionality of these documents. After you're done typing in your document, the next step is you might be required to do some kind of approval. So if I have a workflow set up, it might not let me post this document until it's been submitted for workflow approval, and that might need to be approved. Business Central has a great workflow functionality. In addition to that, it integrates with Power Automate from the Microsoft stack, which really helps us make really complex workflows, not just simplistic workflows. Some of you, we might have had to customize your workflows to get them all the options that you wanted. Now, all of that comes embedded inside the system. So we're really excited about those features. And it's thinking more about what can I do inside of Business Central instead of outside of the system first. Another really cool thing is I can preview the posting of this document. And when I do that, I'm going to let it come up here for a second. Notice that it's going to show me all of the areas that it's going to post to. So not just the GL, which is probably the star of what we want to look at here, but it's also going to show me that everywhere else in the system that's going to be hit by this posting. I'm going to make an entry to the vendors because that's where I owe something. I have an inventory item, so it's going to hit my item ledger. I had taxes on here, so it's going to enter into my tax. It's going to enter detail to the vendor ledger entry and the values into the system. In addition to all that is the GL entry. So from here, I can see my GL accounts, my debit, credit, etc. Now, another thing to remember, which again, it's going to become a part of your language with Business Central, is you can personalize on this window too, every window. So as an example, when I first opened this window in Business Central, the GL account name was not showing. So I added it in there. Now it will always show for my user as I open the system. Another thing to note here, I see my debits and credits. I love debits and credits because I'm an accountant. Natively, it will show amounts. And then I had to add my debit and credit in personalization. There's also a setup in the general ledger setup. that will say, do you want to show across the board in your system amounts, debits and credits only, or both or all amounts and debits and credits? So if I'm in a journal entry, if I'm in a window, it's asking me that. Again, trying to be friendly for all different types of users inside of Business Central. So really fun stuff there to do. And you can see the great detail I get to see. I can post this straight from here. Or again, if I don't want to post all at once, I can post in mass, just like you would post a batch. You would post in mass out here as well. So lots of really great things to do there. I'm going to go back to my home screen. And the last type of document that we haven't really talked about is journals. Journals is where documents end up in order to make transactions happen into the system. So I'm going to go to start with my general journal. I'm going to go here into my general journal. Now, general journals work quite differently than they did in GP. The first thing is that batches are different. Batches are great to separate different users. So same concept of why we would have told you to use a batch different in GP. You also can set defaults at a batch, very similar to GP. Is this a recurring batch? Is this going to be, you know, what we need to balance? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But a big difference between batches in GP and batches in Business Central is the posting really isn't necessarily tied to just that batch. So this batch is actually going to stay out there. So for a lot of you who we've always told, use a unique batch each time and you never do, this is your paradise. You never have to do that again. You don't have to set up a batch. Once you set up a batch with your name, just to keep it separate so other people aren't entering in my batch too, then really that just stays out there for you. So I'm going to use my default batch. That's what comes in our sample company. But again, you get to set up all your same accounts. Now, journals are different than in GP as well. For many of you, we have, we have listed into your brain multiple times, never post to a subledger through a general journal. A big difference here now in Business Central is that I can actually post to a subledger. And I'm going to delete this line just so I can start new. I had this out from a previous demo. But if we look here, I can hit just to a general ledger account, which is like the general journal kind of side of GP. But notice all of these other options I now have that I never had in GP, and that's to hit the subledger. So I can hit to a vendor subledger through a general journal. I can hit to a customer. Now, normally you're going to use a document which then resolves to a journal in order to get it to the ledger entries. However, you do have the option, which is nice for quick write-offs, for loading beginning balances, for doing adjustments. There are ways just to go straight through the journal. So really exciting stuff there. Today, we're going to kind of focus on general ledger because that's probably your most common general journals that you're going to enter. Again, most of these other subledgers, we're going to go through a document. When I go on here, again, I don't need to know a GL account. So I'm just going to hit miscellaneous. Again, you can use negative and positive amounts or enter your debits and credits. So as an example, I'm going to do $50 here, and I'm going to go down a line, and I'm going to say, for this one, I'm going to do a fee. Now notice it has a couple, so I do have to make a choice here. I'm going to do a bank charge, and I'm going to do a positive 50. So once I do that and go to the next line, you can see my balance is 0, which means that I'm in sync on my debits and credits. Now, this is one way to enter this general journal. Very common of what you might do. Somebody hit an expense to a miscellaneous, and I'm moving it and reclassing it over to bank charges. But there's another way to do this as well. So I'm just going to hit delete on this line. And I'm going to go up to this line, and I'm going to scroll over here to the right to where it says balancing account. That's a different feature in Business Central. I can balance to a GL account or a subledger as well. And in this case, I'm going to balance to my fee. So I'm going to go back to my bank fee. in one line, then I didn't have to enter the debit and credit. It's going to do the offset to the balancing account. So now when I hit the preview posting, and I'm going to look, you can see I have my debit and credit, but I did it on one line. So the balancing account is a nice little feature. Again, you don't have to use it. You can use your debits and credits in 2 lines. That's perfectly fine. But it gives you some options in order to do that. Now, general journals, you know, most of you are pretty comfortable with that process. It's not a huge difference than what you had in GP. But you also have the ability to do recurring just like you did in GP. You get a few more options with that. So here's one I've set up that is pretty common. You get recurring methods of fixed, variable, which means that the amount is blank because it might change each month, so you're going to have to fill that in each time. I'm not going to talk about balance. That's a little different, but it does have to do with dimensions, which again is a longer conversation that we will have some webinars on. And I also have reversing of all of those options as well. When I do one of those methods, then I get to name what is the recurring frequency. And this is super flexible. Now, these are using smart objects. Again, we have a cheat sheet for you. There's a great list online, but we'll make sure we train you with that in order to do that. In this case, it's pretty easy. I've listed 1 month. So from here, whatever my posting date is, it will reoccur to 1 month. The other really cool thing that I love is you get smart objects related in your description. So in this case, I have prepaid insurance %3 and %4. What that means is the month and year will show as my document number. So I don't have to go in here and type it each time, which is super nice. Many of you know as you use recurring that you have to go in, update the description, and then post it. So now I have nothing to update before I post this. And then I've done 2 lines not using a balancing account, but I've used a credit and a debit into here. So when again, I can preview this posting. There's nothing to post because I already posted this month. But then you can just go in here and post it, and it will then increment that to the next month. Now, one of the things we're going to show in our purchasing demo is another way to do prepaid expenses using deferral templates. Deferral templates will take care of all the prepaid expenses and charging that out without doing recurring journal entries. So please make sure to check that demo out. I really like those deferral templates, and that's an option you didn't have in GP. So lots of things that we could go on about, but I wanted to keep this demo kind of short to give you an overall view of cards, lists, documents, and journals, as well as general navigation into this system. There's a few things I want to talk about as far as new innovation that Microsoft is doing. And I think that's a really important part of what is an advantage of Business Central. Microsoft really is pushing all of their new innovation. I hope you got a look at that with some of the Outlook integration, the Excel back and forth integration, which is amazing. But in addition to that, Microsoft is pouring in AI to all of their products, and Business Central is no different. I'm going to show you a couple ways that Microsoft has put AI into Business Central. The first I'm going to do is go from items. So again, I'm just going to search and go to my items menu. And from here, I'm going to hit new from a picture. Now, this picture that I'm going to use is not at all something special. This is used strictly, this is downloaded from just from a website. It is not something special that I've done. This picture that I'm going to use isn't a special picture. It is something that I just downloaded from the internet, a random picture of a purple chair. So I'm going to hit open. When I do that, Microsoft AI went out there and looked at the picture and determined that it is a chair. It then went to my item categories. I happen to have chair as one of my categories. It could have picked desk, table. I have other parts out here, etc. But it picked chair as the closest related to what that picture is. Then it applied the template that is applied to chair. So again, we talked about how you can use templates to help ease the setup. When it did that, it brought back attributes that I should fill in for this item. So I'm going to go ahead and type in purple. Oops, if I can spell. I'm going to type in just some, some attributes which are going to help, and I'm going to hit OK. When I do that, it fills out and sets up my item. Again, based on my template, it's defaulting in a lot of information for me. So all I did was fill in parts that I said I had to fill in. It found the correct category. I could have changed it. The next thing that AI is doing is using Copilot to help me do marketing. So I'm just going to hit edit in here. And I'm going to ask Copilot to create, and you can do a tagline and paragraph or a brief description or just a tagline. So I'm just going to do tagline and paragraph, and I'm going to say, go ahead and create the description for me. So, sit like royalty with the purple throne of comfort, an office chair. So on here, I can edit this, or if you don't like it, you can say, that's not really that great a suggestion. Maybe I just want another tagline. Go ahead and create that draft again. And you can continue to have it suggest things till it gets to what you want into your system. And again, you can edit this as well. Attributes to include, oh, wow, I went a little more. But here on attributes, you can say include or don't include some of these attributes that I filled in, etc. So you can set and edit this, change it up, hit OK, and then you're off to the races with your marketing plan for that. So AI being built in using Copilot inside of the item, especially help with marketing. So what's another way that AI is being used is in predictive analysis. So I'm going to go ahead to cash flow setup. This BC, even without AI, has a pretty robust cash flow analysis module, way more than we had the option for in GP. It allows us to take cash flow from different areas of the system that might impact, whether it be the budget, whether it be what's happening in payables or receivables, and then it will help create a cash flow analysis. However, you can turn on Azure AI analysis as well and enable that in the system. There are many different time series models, which you can read more about, but basically it takes historical periods and looks forward. And it guesses what that's predictive analysis is going to be. Over time, AI will learn and do better for you in predicting your cash analysis. Maybe it's customers that pay late or vendors that you pay late. All of that kind of information will be able to be estimated, or different seasonalities that you have. So again, those time series modules, as well as AI's learning process, will get better and then be able to predict your cash flow. That's something that is included in Business Central. You don't have to pay more for that kind of power into the system. So really exciting stuff about all the new innovation and things that Microsoft is doing. Some things I really love that I think are huge improvements over GP. But you know, there's always things that I love a lot more in GP that I wish I could cherry pick from all the best ERPs. But like I've said to people before, even if I created that ERP, somebody would still complain. So a lot of it is preferences, but I think you'll really love the search feature to navigate around to make it easy to find things inside of the system. The Excel integration that allows you to open and publish back without your consultants or an admin creating a map and an import, etc. That personalized to really make fields work in cards and lists like you would like it. And that extra ability that's not just a smart list, but turns it into a pivot table. And the ability to really everything being on a list is super flexible and easy into the system. I hope today, after the demo, you feel a little bit better about Business Central and you're excited for some of those new features. If you have questions, want more information about Business Central, or what's the next steps for your organization, please reach out to info@infusion.com. Someone will get right back to you, or give us a call at 865-688-3434. We look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.